The Leafs have a goalie battle going into next season, which could ultimately decide the future on all three goalies with this organization. And I think there is one clear guy that you have to start going into game one of the playoffs. We'll get into that a little later on, but before we start, I just wanted to say that 89.9% of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you're enjoying this daily Leafs and NHL content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But we'll get right into it, with the first goalie being Ilya Samsonov. If you look at Ilya Samsonov's stats from last season, he put up a .919 save percentage with the Leafs with a 27-10-5 record. I won't talk too much about Samsonov. We all know him. He played with the Leafs last year. He looked incredible during the regular season. Injuries kind of faltered him a little bit going into the playoffs, where he ultimately did lose the starting job. But we've seen Samsonov come back on a one-year deal. It went to arbitration, which I don't like too much. We've seen reports come out that both sides were fine with it. They were all happy that the deal just got done and there was no hard feelings. But you kind of go into this next season where he's on his one-year deal. It's almost like a prove yourself that you're worth more than just one. So you can maybe get him on a 3, 4, 5-year deal if he can prove that he is a starting caliber goalie in this league. He can hold himself down, play a full season, and play in the playoffs. But you kind of don't like going into the season where he's kind of just left with the 1 year, but it does give you the flexibility where if one of these guys behind him does end up taking the starting job, then you can just let him walk or you can move him when you need. But this is where things start to get interesting when you look at goalie Martin Jones. Martin Jones last year on the Seattle Kraken had a 27-13 record with an .887 save percentage. 27 wins is up there with Ilya Samsonov and Jordan Binnington. It's a few more wins than a guy like Ville Husso and Jeremy Swayman, and just a few less wins from a guy like Stuart Skinner or Ilya Sorokin. So you get this veteran guy, he has 300 more games played than Samsonov and Woll combined. So you get a veteran goaltender that can come in. He played great when he was in LA. He looked great when he was on the Sharks before he got his big deal. The Sharks slowly started to decline a bit and Jones did not look as good. But last year, the save percentage on a Kraken team, the Kraken were a good team, but in my opinion, when you look at this Leafs team, just from the forwards and the defensemen, there's just so much more defensive depth that I think Jones' save percentage is due to go up. If you can get him to get you another 27 wins and a guy like Joseph Woll to get you another 27, I think it's an outstanding position to be in. But it starts to get weird when you kind of look at it in the sense of you have 3 goalies and you can only dress 2 of them. Martin Jones can be sent down to the AHL where it would bury his complete contract, which is around 800, 900,000. But if you bury him and another team gets an injury during preseason or just see him more fit than another guy they have, he could get claimed off waivers. So it kind of leaves the Leafs in a weird situation of, do we run Jones? He's an established guy. He's our veteran goaltender. Or do we just kind of give the reins to a rookie, a guy that's not too proven, and just have the chance of losing Martin Jones on free agent waivers for absolutely nothing? So it leaves you in the awkward spot of being, hey, we have these 3 guys. We need to kind of just make a decision, and I think training camp's going to be huge to watch. I know a lot of people are talking about, oh, what are the Leafs going to do with their defense? How's the forwards? But I think this is one of the main things to keep an eye on, especially for just the future of these past 2 guys I've talked about. Both guys are on a 1-year deal. They're going to go in next season as a UFA. But if one of them can kind of come out, outperform the other, and just steal that starting job, I wouldn't be surprised if they just kind of moved on from the other guy. Say Samsonov comes out, he's stellar. Martin Jones isn't getting any minutes. He kind of gets demoted a bit and just kind of rides the taxi squad. Then you get in the situation of, okay, we let him walk. But if a guy like Jones can come out, his save percentage shoots up to a .920, and Samsonov kind of starts to struggle a little bit, this is where it gets interesting of, do we just keep riding the hot hand of the veteran goaltender, or do we go to the next guy, which I want to talk about, which is Joseph Woll. Joseph Woll last year with the Leafs had a 6-1 record with a .932 save percentage. We've seen him come into the playoffs against the Florida Panthers. He looked outstanding. Overall, I think Samsonov had an incredible year, but I think Joseph Woll is really underlooked by a lot of fans and just other fan bases. We have a young goalie at the age of 25. He's currently on his last year of the deal, which does bring him into his RFA. So we can bring him back next season, but overall, the .932 save percentage, the 6-1-0 record, and just the playoffs. You've seen him come into the spotlight. Toronto's a hard city to play for. A lot of these guys kind of falter. they don't play up to their expectations just due to the media. But you see this guy kind of just come in. He's a young guy. He's come up through the system, and he has so much to prove. It kind of reminds me of Jordan Binnington back when St. Louis called him up when they weren't really into the playoff hunt. You've seen Binnington just push this team. He played stellar. And ultimately, this guy that came in as a rookie at the age of 26 or 27 just won the Stanley Cup with St. Louis in that season. I think this is a situation where Woll is going to prove himself. I personally do think you run him as a 1A, 1B with Samsonov, but it kind of leaves you in the sense of you don't want to lose Martin Jones and get into the realm of, okay, we have these two guys, we lose Martin Jones, and then an injury occurs. Because then if Samsonov goes down at some point, you kind of get left with, we have a rookie goaltender and a young guy coming up through the system, which kind of leaves you in not a great spot, in my opinion. So there is a case where the Leafs could clear a tiny bit of cap going into the season, which would ultimately leave them with the chance to play all three goalies. Just kind of have all three in the system, have all three with the team. Just let them kind of take games off, play here and there, and just see who's the hot hand, ride that going into playoffs. But ultimately, I do expect a huge season from Joseph Woll. I think he is the most talented goalie in the system, and I do think he starts game one of the playoffs. Like I said last year, we've seen him coming against Florida. He played stellar, just a young goalie coming to his first playoffs, and just be able to perform like that under this spotlight is just outstanding. So, like I said, there's a lot to look at with these three guys. What do you think in the comments? Do you think Martin Jones is going to be let go on waivers? Do you think Martin Jones will end up being the starter at some point? Or do you think Joseph Woll is the goalie of the future and they should just give the keys to him? But we'll get into our last segment, which is everyone's favorite, which is comment of the day. Casey and Mark, please make your Leafs lineup for the 2023-2024 season. Thank you, Rob, for leaving the comment. We're going to do one of these videos when it gets a little closer to training camp. Just while the lines are getting shuffled, we'll put out our predictions, how we think everything's going to look, and we'll keep these updated as the season goes on and throughout the training camp. But if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, comment. We love reading you guys' comments. It brings joy to us seeing you guys subscribe and just enjoying these videos. Just gives us the motivation to continue. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and take care.